Thank you. I'd like to also appreciate the father of the department, the number one man of the department, Associate Professor Ridwan Adeyemi, the man at whose instance we're all gathered here today. Thank you very much, Prof. And I'd like to beg Prof to take his pride of place at the high table. Please keep clapping. Thank you. Thank you very much. At this juncture, I'd like to invite the student rep president, Muhammad Yakasai, Alhaji Muhammad Yakasai, to come and give us the opening prayer.
Salu ala Nabi Karim. All praises be to Allah, the Lord of the worlds, the beneficent, the merciful, master of the day of judgment. He alone we worship and He alone we ask for help. Guide us to the right path. As we start this program, may we start it on a successful note and finish it on a more successful note. Thank you very much.
We appreciate the President, Mass Communication Students Association, for the opening prayer. Okay. Thank you very much. For the Christian prayers, shall we pray? Heavenly Father, we bless your name for today. We thank you for the wisdom that informed this gathering. We appreciate you for the journey messes you've granted all that have found time to be here with us this morning. As we're about to commence the program, we request, Heavenly Father, that you start with us, continue with us, and end with us to your glory. We ask all this through Christ our Lord. Amen. Good, thank you. I will be anchoring this event with a very good colleague of mine, the studio radio technologist, Mr. Peter Otto. Let's put hands together for Mr. Peter Otto. We still await the arrival of the Vice Chancellor, Nai University of Nigeria, but I have it on good authority that this event is being hosted at the instance of the approval he transmitted to the department for the program. Let's put our hands together for our Vice Chancellor in absentia, Professor Dulo Dili. Thank you. At this juncture, we'd like to invite the head of department of Mass Communication, Associate Professor Ridwan Adeyemi, for his opening remarks before the dean comes up to declare the event open. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Jacob. I want to give glory to God Almighty and special greetings to our Honorable Vice Chancellor of this university, Professor Dili Jogo, our amiable Dean of the Faculty, Professor Jide Oladipo, and our professors here seated, Professor Taufik Aziz from Abuja, and our father, the Director General of Nigerian Legal Aid Council, Raja Aliu Bagudu. You are most welcome. All our staff, our diligent staff, our team, I welcome you all. Our students, our amiable students, I welcome you all to this maiden edition of our conference on sustainable national development. Briefly, this is a conference we put together from our development communication class to integrate our students into the world of research practically, applying our models and theoretical models to societal problems, to solve societal problems. At this event, we're having our lead presenters from various universities, University of Lagos, University of Abuja, Now University, Lagos University, and also from MENA to present lead papers, and also our students at the 300 level in the development communication class will also be presenting their findings from their research which they have conducted. So I want to commend everybody for being here, taking your time to encourage our students. We believe that we have to integrate our younger generation into the world of research and intellectual development. That is why we thought of this starting, somehow little, then we grow better by the grace of God. Once again, I want to welcome everybody to this special occasion today, and I wish you the best of luck throughout the event. Thank you very much.
We sincerely appreciate the head of department, Associate Professor Ridwan Adeyemi, for addressing the conference on the rationale for this gathering. At this juncture, we've come to that point where we listen to the Dean, Faculty of Arts and Social Sciences, NIA University of Nigeria, Abuja, Professor Jide Oladipo. We'll please put hands together as we respectfully invite the Dean, Faculty of Arts and Social Sciences, for his keynote address.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, everyone. Thank you. I want to thank God and don't mind my voice. It's still coming up. I want to thank God and I want to thank everyone here, most especially the leadership in the Department of Mass Communication for putting this together. Can we give them a round of applause, please? I want to thank our Associate Professor Ridwan Adeyemi and other colleagues, Dr. Jacob, Dr. Adeola, that is seated, and every other staff of mass communication. I want to thank you so much. At this point, I equally want to appreciate our students. You are an important stakeholder, and I want to thank you for coming here today. Can you please give yourself a round of applause, please? Most importantly, I want to thank our DG for finding time, because DGs are very, very busy. I've been privileged to work with some DGs. Having them around is not easy because of nature of engagement of their offices. So, DG, sir, I want to thank you, Alhaji Aliyu Bagudu. I want to thank you so much for finding time to be at my university this morning, despite your busy commitment. Thank you so much. And I want to thank our professor for coming all the way from the University of Abuja. You know the traffic every day in the morning. For coming on time, Prof. Thank you so much, Professor Aziz. Thank you so much. We appreciate you. We thank you so much. And I want to thank the wife too for being here. So you can see the whole family has come to support us. So thank you, man. Thank you for coming. We appreciate you. And let's look at what we are here to do today. The theme is Nigerian sustainable development. We know that development is very, very important, not only in Nigeria, but globally. And globally, we have what we call SDG, Sustainable Development Goals. So every country wants to develop. And I'm happy that we are here this morning to talk about our own development as a country. And I'm sure that we're going to look at this from different perspectives. The issue of development cut across disciplines, cut across every aspect of our economy. And not only that, if you're a student, development means so many things to you. It's multidimensional. Apart from your physical growth, emotional, spiritual growth, another aspect is your academic growth, succeeding from one level to another level. So when we talk about development, we're talking about it broadly. But today, we're going to look at national development. And I want to encourage our students to equally think about their own development at NIE University. I'm happy that you are getting engaged, you are relating with your faculty, and you're learning. This is the best way to go. And please get involved. It is very, very important. This is designed for you. This is organized for you. And I want to take this opportunity to enrich your knowledge and understanding, because it is not only textbook, the other things that complements what you have in class. This is one of those things. They will enrich you, open the world to you, and you find this experience relevant every day of your life. So I want to thank everybody for coming today, and I'm very, very happy with everyone. Thank you so much. I will not be here for long because I have other commitments this morning. I should be somewhere else, but I just rush in here. So if you see me going out, please just permit me. So once again, I want to thank our DG. I want to thank our professor. I want to thank the leadership of Department of Mass Communication. Thank you so much.
Please give our Dean another round of applause, please. Thank you very much. A renowned professor of economics himself, Professor Chide Oladipo. We appreciate you once again for squeezing out time to be here and to address the conference. Thank you very much. We're making progress, and we hope to start with the first lead presentation. To do this presentation is one who obviously I am intimidated attempting to introduce him. It's one with very intimidating academic credentials, but I will try to summarize all that within a paragraph. Professor Tafik Adesina Aziz is a renowned professor of English.
My closest assistant, Dr. Abiola Tiamiyu, the HOD, Department of Mass Communication, the organizers of this event, my dear students, ladies and gentlemen, and other protocols that are needed to be observed. I'm pleased to be here this morning to present a lead paper with the title, Perspectives on National, Global, and Local Conspiracies Militating Against Nigeria's Growth and Development. Permit me to apologize that you're not going to have access to it as I do the presentation. But I can promise you that by the grace of God Almighty and the HOD Mass Communication, it will soon be made available to you. It has to be like this because the nature of our work at this level is such that 24 hours will not be enough for us. So I had this matter in mind, but for the past 1 week, I've been on the road, going for one external examination or another. So I came back very late yesterday night in the rains, and I had to struggle to put things together. I will tidy it up and then make it available for your access. I have made it key point paper. And I'm going to advance about 5 key points as thesis and then make some other points as a country explanation. Prologue. Developing countries have been devalued or deviled, bedeviled or bedeviled, whichever one you like. It is not my language, and I'm not under any obligation to pronounce the words correctly because they cannot pronounce my name correctly. Developing countries have been devoured by tragic consequences of inevitable conspiracies that virtually stop them from converting their multivarious resources into developmental goals. In other words, the fact that there are conspiracies against us does not need debate. We cannot deny it. We cannot say there's no conspiracy. There are conspiracies. And these conspiracies have their consequences. We have resources. Europe and America do not have resources. Their resources are here. Africa is their resources. Nigeria has about 50% of the resources in Africa. And Lake Chad Basin has about 50% of this in Nigeria. So the points I'm about to make should be put in context, and I want to provide a platform for your understanding. I will try to explain a few things that are technically presented, since you don't have the paper, so that you can read and read and read and read until you understand the point. We are not able to use these resources to develop ourselves and make gains. I will, by means of a joke, tell you that they are presently facing scarcity of human resources. And they are going to add our human resources to our material resources that they have stolen. So they are stealing us now and making us willing products to be bought. Jackpa, she's saying it already, I can hear you. Jackpa. People are now going voluntarily because they have made our lives so hard. So jobs are now available overseas. So they are smartly bringing human resources to them to continue to exploit, produce, process the material resources they stole. So they still need you to go and process it for money, to develop their own economy and their own country. These conspiracies are operational strategies to manage, control, and sustain dominance, power, ownership, and total hold on the resources of the countries created by the Europeans for the administrative conveniences of their owners since Berlin Conference. At Berlin Conference, European countries gathered several years ago, and they call it Scramble and Partition of Africa. You remember, sir? They scrambled for Africa, and they agreed to divide Africa into countries owned by them and administered by Africans. So they started naming territories according to the resources that they got in those territories. It is only Nigeria that has refused to change the name, Niger area, because we deceive ourselves that it means Niger. It's not Niger. It's Niger, slave. Because apart from the resources that they got, they also got slaves, very strong slaves. So a lady now named the territory where they got these niggers as Niger area. And we retain it because we've been programmed. We've been programmed through education to accept whatever comes from them. Ghana is wiser. They named the territory Gold Coast because they found plenty of gold in Ghana. Ghana remembered that they were an old empire, Ghana Empire. They had a name. And they did not succeed in taking out much of the empire, old Ghana Empire. Ghana reverted to Ghana and threw away Gold Coast. Nigeria couldn't, because over 400 different nations were brought together. As at the time they were creating Nigeria, Songhai Empire had gone. Kanem Borno Empire had gone. Traces of Mali Empire had gone. Oyo Empire had gone. Sokoto Empire had gone. Zaria Kingdom had gone. Benin Kingdom had gone. There was no empire in the southeast. So there was a problem. Which of these old empires that came together, that were brought together to form Niger area, are we going to name it after? We tried with the idea of Wazobia, but we reached a stumbling block because Wazobia were words meaning come in Hausa, Yoruba, and Igbo language. So we retain, for the purpose of the piece of a graveyard or the piece of the, how many types of peace do you think exist? There is no crisis in the graveyard. There is no crisis at the mortuary. There is no crisis in the theater. So we have peace in these three places. Which of these peace do we have in Nigeria? Is it peace of the graveyard, peace of the mortuary, peace of the theater? You don't go to the theater and make noise, do you? And you don't go to the mortuary and make noise. Even if you cry, you will have collected your corpse. It will be outside. And so on. So we have peace. We have one kind of peace or another because we must retain Niger areas. So the point I've made here is that they divided territories in Africa, gave them names for only one purpose: to continue to exploit the resources. And they granted them autonomy, flag independence, and put a new class that they created, educated class, in charge to administer their territories that they created on their behalf. And this is what you call government. The implication of this include, but not limited to, the following. Number one, inextricable connection between security and development. What do I mean by this? You cannot develop if there is no security. And there cannot be security where your development will stop the creators of your country from prosperity. I'll give you one example. At the beginning of this presentation, I told you that about 50% of the resources of Africa are in Nigeria. About 50% of these resources are in Lake Chad. Lake Chad is a piece of wonder. It is in the northeast of Nigeria, bounded by Borno State, Yobe. And if you ask me, if I'm also a European interested in the resources of Nigeria, I will not allow peace in that region. Because should there be peace, if you drill only oil under a peaceful condition, if Nigerians drill only oil, is that not the pronunciation? Nigerian pronunciation, oil. If you drill only oil in Lake Chad, Nigeria will make money. Chad, Libya will lose money. The Europeans, especially French, that are stealing oil, uranium, due to the crisis they created around the axis, will lose money. So what did they do? They created Boko Haram. Boko Haram is CIA's overt operation in Nigeria. So that you'll be faced with crisis, you'll be fighting. Your military will go there to stop the crisis, and the chiefs will be selling fish, only fish. No oil, no uranium, because all this will need major government policy. Without security, government cannot be concerned with it. So the insecurity will continue because the military chiefs that are to quell and bring down this crisis found fish in Lake Chad. So they are selling, they are making money. How do you expect somebody who is making money in a crisis-torn country or region to quell the crisis and be withdrawn back to the barracks? So who says there is a government that will stop insecurity in the Northeast? That is the connection. I give another example. Nigeria can feed itself, but for Nigeria to feed itself, there must be deliberate agricultural policy to make agribusiness the business of the people, since about 70% of Nigerians are farmers. But Bill Gates, for example, is interested in selling GMO, apart from other things that he does. And GMO will find the largest market in Africa. And the largest of the markets in Africa is Nigeria. We don't have brains. We only have nerves. Anything coming from there, go to ShopRite, when it was ShopRite owned by them, you see mango like human eggs. You see vegetables. You see all these GMO products, they are very attractive and cheaper. For Nigeria to be able to provide the market for GMO, there must be either farmers' clash, sponsored by them. Fulani must attack farmers. There must be AK-47 wielding Fulani man. These people must transform into kidnappers. The farms must not be safe, so that insecurity would get the farmers out of the farms. And then GMO will come, because we will eventually starve. Whereas, if we concentrate deliberately on agriculture, the sky is the beginning of our development, because the development of a nation depends on its ability to feed itself. Nigeria became ungovernable because outgoing president deliberately concentrated on agriculture. We started producing rice. Lagos collaborated with Kebbi and got Lake rice. Ebonyi produced rice. Everybody produced rice. importation became impossible. The importers, the exporters conspired to deal with Nigeria. The president deliberately went to China. They did currency swap. The conspirators felt threatened. Instead of Nigerians making gains from these policies, insecurity rubbished everything. Everybody, including myself, abused government. Up to today, we are finding it difficult to point out what achievement of what we can't, because insecurity has rubbished everything. My prayer is that may we not one day praise him, because if matters get worse, as a result of the inevitable shift in policy and the consequences, may Nigeria not say Buhari was better. Because we condemned Jonathan when he was lackadaisical about it. He was a gentleman. He didn't want trouble. But Nigeria suffered for it. We now have all our hopes on Buhari. Buhari came and made a sharp paradigm shift. Now everybody is saying Jonathan was better. So we are hoping that we won't say Buhari was better. Nobody thought it would happen like that. Number two, inseparable bond between politics and economic development. There is no way your economy can develop without deliberate policy of government. But the operators of government are not independent. They are not free. I'll give an example. I won't say much on this for security purposes. Is there any major presidential candidate that will not be invited to Britain? Have you ever wondered why they always invite them? Have you ever wondered why Britain must endorse a presidential candidate? Now, you go there, you pledge that if you become president, you will sell Nigeria to them. You become president because they will assist you to become president. If they don't want you to become president, they know how to tinker with your election so that you'll be disqualified. They own the aces. These are not known to the generality of the citizens. So there is no way this democracy will not kill development. When you get there and you renege on your pledge, they know how to deal with you. They simply make your country ungovernable. So there is no development without political development. However, who is going to be qualified to stand for election? A criminal. I have no apology saying this. A person with integrity, up to 50% integrity, will not have the resources to contest election. I give an example. The last presidential election, every presidential candidate for the primary in the ruling party will pay how much? 100 million. How much is the president going to earn in a month? How much does it translate to in a year? How much does it translate to in 4 years? Not up to 100 million. And you are obtaining form for primary for 100 million. Is he not making a statement, very loud statement, that there's something else in that place? It is not the salary they are going there to spend. Politics will be highly monetized, highly satanized. So a person with integrity will either not have the money or the satanic tendency to contact with those who do. So there's going to be a problem. Number three, inevitability of functional education for development. Down the paper, I explained that, oh my God. Down the paper, I explained that education was primarily meant to train three categories of people. When they first came with churches, following their experience in Britain, the Romanization. The Romans came to Britain, conquered them, introduced Christianity to them, and used religion to enslave them, and imposed Latin as the language for the people. So they came to impose English as our language, remove the previous lingua franca, and then introduce religion to divide us and create a class of loving, willing, obedient servants of God and servants of man. So they trained translators in the churches. They trained civil servants who will administer the territory on their behalf. And they trained clerks for the corporations. The corporations came to buy our resources and give us paper, pound sterling. And until recently, they came here, take our oil, take our bauxite, uranium, gold, everything, and give us colored paper called dollars. They took these resources to their places, they changed them, manufactured things with them, brought these things back to us, we bought them and paid them back their paper. Are you following? I don't think you understand what I'm saying. They came empty-handed, took all our resources, gave us paper, brought these resources back as manufactured goods, and collected their papers back. So what do we gain? This is how we cannot develop. Anybody that tries to manufacture anything with our resources will be brought down. He won't be able to sell it. They will inject criminals into his companies. They will chop them. They will chop and finish. They will finish the company. The man will be frustrated. Eventually, we will settle for importation. When they were saying that Dangote was going to do his refinery, what was the joke? That the price of petroleum product will come down because Dangote is going to refine it. What happened after Dangote was inaugurated? Prices went up from 165 to 195. At a point, there was no fuel. And now, at a point, it went up to 200, 300 per liter. Now it has stabilized. Why? Because there was negotiation. After all, we have reached a point where Dangote can make his profit easily by not tinkering with the market. And they will continue to make their money because the prices are the same. What he is supplying is equal to what they are bringing. So there is equilibrium, economic equilibrium. The citizens don't have to know what's going on. They only have to tolerate, to bear the brunt, the pains, and the rest of them. So there is this connection. Number 4, compelling need to understand and interrogate international political, economic, and social order as impetus for local and economic re-engineering. Let me explain further. Number 3 point. We are not challenging the role and the need for education, especially university education. We're not challenging it. We feel that, especially poor people like us, we feel that the success of our children is a university education. I resisted what Dr. Ridwan was not able to resist. Number one, I resisted going out of this country because I'm proud of my UI. UI is the university. Others are higher institutions. You don't understand? UI is the only university in Nigeria without address. University of Ibadan. Ibadan, your letter will reach there. Other universities, we have PMB. Even now university, don't you have address? Unilag has address. University of Abuja, PMB 117. UI has no address. On a very serious note, I resisted going out of the country for anything. Two, I resisted allowing any of my children to travel out. What's the reason? I looked at it. How much will I spend on a child to graduate? If he gets a job, how much is he going to earn? When am I going to get dividend of my investment in my children's education? If he gets a job, how much is the highest salary, sir? Sir. DG, sir. How much is the highest level 8 salary in Nigeria? The highest pay. The highest paying. 100,000. Maximum 100,000. Okay, 120. 120 times 12. 1.2 in a year. Okay. How much did I spend to train him? When am I going to get my millions? I calculated 10 years ago, I calculated 1.4 million from government primary, secondary, and public university. School fees, no feeding. School fees, uniform, and so on. Shoes, I calculated 1.4 10 years ago. How much will it be now? So my son will be earning how much? If he removes his own, how much? And I didn't go for the maximum. I went for the middle. The middle is 62,000. How much is 62,000 divided by 20? 20 days. You work for 20 days. 60,000 divided by 20. You don't know math? 3,000. How much does a mason earn a day? 5,000. A mason doesn't have to go to the university, but is earning 2,000 above a graduate in a day. 3,000 in 20 days. 9,000. Cool? 90,000. Close to the maximum. So I looked at it. If my child will go to the university and all he will earn is this miserable salary, let him find work doing. If what I'm wearing is fine, is my son that is rounding off electrical engineering that sold it. My son is a fashion designer. He's rounding off. I told him, I'm not going to look for a job for you. You know, I did it for your brother. I did it for your second brother. Me, nothing. I can't be suffering and then make you suffer. Tell me what you want to do. When my son took me to his boss, we got there, the boss jumped and said, "Welcome, Prof." I said, "How did you know me?" He said, "You taught me GST 101. So what? I only taught medical students, vet medical student, engineering. He said, "I'm a 500 level medical student. 500 level medical student, Taylor." So this is what I want to do. It is my father who wants me to be a medical doctor. I will finish. I will give him his certificate. I will continue my, I said, "I dash you, my son, dash you. Pata, pata." This one is in 300 level. engineering. You are in 500 level medicine. You are still doing this tailoring thing. No, I know why you are connected. So I dash you. So how many people can do this? I go everywhere as a life coach. Many of our children do not want to be what we want them to be until we interrogate the educational system and make people have minimum required education and then use their brain and their hands to produce. We can't have development. As long as we continue to have paper education, when we ask you, are you educated? You put your hand in your bag and give me a piece of paper. It's not an evidence that you're educated. Paper education is a problem. Until we have functional education, we can't develop. In my view, I don't think Nigeria needs university education now. Nigeria needs technical education. Those who manufacture all these are not university people. Even your phone, if you want to catch up, we want to develop, let us go down to technical education. Let our children become farmers with technology, precision farming. We feed ourselves. We join them in education. Science today has to perform magic, or else it is not science. Let people in humanities forget about the idea of digital humanity. Let them investigate the correspondence between what they call magic and science. I give an example. I know Ifa a little. It is based on 16, and it is binary, a G, a G, a G. Isabi of the Muslim clerics is the same thing, 16 and binary. Computer is 16 and binary. If these things came from us, we have been trained and programmed to reject it. But because it came from them with a different name, we embrace it. This is non-functional education, dead. Education that is dead. Let us revive education. That's the way to go. Number 4, compelling need to understand international political order. The international community is not interested in your peace, progress, or development. They're interested in your resources. Whoever is going to be there that is going to stop them from exploiting your resources must be dealt with. Look at Sudan. The US came, warned Sudan, don't sign any pact with Russia. We are at war with Russia. Russia is putting pepper on our eyes in Ukraine. We are losing the war. We can't withdraw. Russia went to Syria, stopped us. Then we cannot afford to lose the resources here and keep you poor. Russia is deceiving you. Russia is saying, you can only sign the pact with us to develop. And the president believed Russia. I will have done so. I will have done so. Russia and China will not tamper with your politics. US will determine who becomes your president to deliver your resources to them. So the president made a mistake. He forgot that he had raised an hyena. And the US armed the hyena, made him stand up against the president, and crisis started. Nobody knows how it will end. We have to make the incoming government realize he has to be careful to navigate this matter and not close his eyes like the previous administration, or rather, the outgoing administration did. You don't do things in absolute faith in truth. When we come to politics, you have to economize the truth. I'm not saying you have to tell lies, But you have to be diplomatic about the truth. You economize the truth. Buhari did not do so, and he wasn't going to talk. The incoming government must be made to concentrate on National Orientation Agency, to let Nigerians know that almost everybody is connected. I was in Kefi yesterday, and somebody was studying, I've forgotten the language now. The language is based in Nasarawa, and the person didn't know that she was Jukun, that the tribe originated from Jukun, and he didn't know. And I'm sure many of you here don't know that the Jukuns, the Nupes, the Yorubas, the Idomas, the Ibira, the Igala, and the Yorubas are the same, and the Kanuris. Many of you don't know. We need a national orientation agency that will reorientate Nigerians, to tell us that politicians are the ones dividing us. There is no religion or ethnic group that encourages stealing, crime, or criming as a job. But politicians will tell you they have fine names. Number 5, finally, the urgent, if not emergency, need for deregulation of democracy. This is the final point I made. The last election threw up the need to deregulate democracy. The politicians played up religion and ethnicity. Every religious group, every ethnic group started owning the politician. Nobody was interrogating their morality, their integrity, their antecedent, but everybody was sentimentally owning them. Eventually, Muslims voted for Obi, Christians voted for Obi, Muslims voted for Atiku, Christians voted for Atiku, Muslims voted for, what's the name of the winner? Tinubu, Christians voted for him. Eventually, by any magic, a Muslim ticket won. Why are we wasting money on political party? Transform CAN and Supreme Council into parties. Transform the traditional institutions into a party, Council of Traditional Rulers. The culture, the Christian religion, the Muslim religion. Let these 3 parties produce the best as candidates for us to choose from and elect. We have done it last election. It was successful and peaceful. Agitations stopped. If Obi, in my view, I didn't vote for him, but in my view, Obi was the hero of that election. Why? He contested the election and stopped Biafra agitation to show that the Igbos are not after Biafra, they are after the presidency. And everybody voted for him, thinking that he will win, and he did not win. And he did not accept defeat so that there will be peace until inauguration. He's still hoping that the court will declare him winner. There is peace. He has sacrificed his integrity for peace. Let the Christians give us their best candidate. Muslims, their best candidate. The traditional rulers, their best candidates. When they misbehave, we hand them over to the institutions that produce them. Let them punish them according to their rule. Let the Muslims punish the Muslim criminal. If he steals our money, let them cut his hand. That's what the Sharia says. No Muslim will come out and go and steal our money again. If the canon law has punishment, let the canon law punish the thief from the Christian side, and let Ogun kill the traditional politician that steals. That is management of our resources. We don't have much because we don't have the brain and the guts to use our resources to develop ourselves. But we have chosen to be religious, resource rich. So religious that if NEPA takes light, we say up NEPA. and we start attributing what man should do to God. God, let them bring light. Everything must be God. Good. Let God come in. Let's allow God to intervene in our democracy. Deregulate it. Council parties. Give power to the Supreme Council and the Council of Traditional Rulers. When they misbehave, let us see which of these three makes sense. Next time, we know who to vote for. And when they get there, we tell them, rule this country according to the will of God or gods. So that we know whether to continue to be loyal to a God who closes his eyes when his children or servants are crying. Instead of paying lip service to it, invite God into politics. That is my idea of deregulation. It is not, let us pray for the thief, for the sundry criminal, for the kidnappers. We pray for everybody. No. Enough is enough. Our development is based on this. I have said a number of things here. This is what I know today. If I have opportunity to know more, and we have opportunity to see, I will edit myself. I have said things that are reasonable. It is an inspiration from my God. I have said things that hurt you. If there are politicians here, they may not like some things that I said. That is me. I cannot give you what I don't have. It's my own weakness. Pardon me. All I've come here to do is to sensitize you. If I succeed, thank God. If I fail, no problem. Good morning.
Thank you very much, Professor. One more time, can we put our hands together for Professor Taufik Aziz? Thank you very much for enlightening us. We'll be having a student research group present, but before then, we'd like to welcome our chairman also to give us a quick speech. Can we put our hands together as we welcome our chairman for this event, Alhaji Aliyu Bagudu. Come on, put your hands together properly.
A very good morning to each and every one of us. I am not supposed to be the chairman of this occasion, and until Professor Ridwan, Associate Professor Ridwan, the HOD of Mass Communication, co-opted me to be the chairman some few minutes ago. I thank God that while Professor Taufik, I don't want to say Taufik because it is not Taufik. Okay, with the letter O. Okay, so Professor Taufik was speaking. I decided to jot out a few things without even knowing the fact that I'm going to have an opportunity to say something at this occasion. Let me first and foremost congratulate you, the audience, those of you who are students here and who are listening to this all-important lecture on the issue of development in our country or lack of it. For actually, it is very difficult to discuss issue of development in our country without discussing factors that militate against our lack of development. The white man is such that he can take your life, i.e., he can kill you without you necessarily knowing that he's the person that is responsible for your death. The black man will take a cutlass and start hitting you with the cutlass with blood gushing out, and he keeps on hitting you until you breathe no more. So the white man is actually the opposite of who the black man is. He can kill you without you knowing that he's the one that is responsible for your death. Absolutely. So the Prof has also added something. You not only think that he was not the one that killed you, but you now start thanking him that probably he has tried to save you, not knowing that he was the one that killed you. In other words, I am trying to relate the very important issues that Professor Taufik raised here about our development as a nation. Nigeria is a very, very great country, and it shall be greater than what we have. Nigeria is greater than the United States of America. We are a country of about 200 and something million people. 200 and something million vibrant people. America is a country of about close to 300 million or about 350. In other words, we are quite close in terms of human resources. But the point of difference and what makes us unique is the fact that Nigeria is not only having human resources like the US, but we also have several different mineral resources. In addition to the gold, which is oil, which we call oil. We have oil, we have several other resources in this country. And we are supposed to be great and developed by every standard that you can think of in human indices. Unfortunately, because of our historical background, the fact that the white man colonized us with all the attendant issues which Professor Taufik has raised, I don't want to repeat them. They are very important for us to understand. I'm saying that you people are privileged because during our own time when we were in the university, we didn't have the opportunity of understanding some of these issues. Probably because our lecturers then were not bothered too much about this issue, or perhaps because the country was actually growing at a certain pace on developmental issues in the early 70s and early 90s, or no, early 80s. By the early 90s or the late 80s, the Western world, led by America, decided or thought that if Nigeria is allowed to keep on growing at the rate that it is growing, they are going to be extinct at a point in time. Why? Because America does not have resources. Europe does not have resources. Some of you will be privileged in the nearest future. That is, if already you have not been privileged to be in Europe and America. They don't have anything. What they have, or what they survive on, is speculation and the fact that they have the dollar. Now, the Prof has said that they bring us, they come here and give us a piece of paper by way of dollar. They take our resources, go back to their countries because they have the technical know-how which we don't have, or which they have refused to allow us to have. Either way you want to take it. And again, unfortunately, bring back the end product to us here and collect back the pieces of papers that they are listing. So everything considered, And this is what they do the worldwide. And that is why today the Western world, and especially America, has problem with China and even Russia to some extent. So, but the dynamics of the world are changing, and we await and see how it goes and how it fares. But the most important aspect I want us to take home as students here and today is the fact that this country, like we have said, is a great country with every potential that you can think of, with every potential that you can think of becoming the world #1. So we need to harness those resources. We need to understand the little differences that we have as a nation, which actually are some of the issues that are being used against us. One, religion. You know, one is a Muslim, the other is a Christian. I don't see how that is a problem. You can be a good Christian and a good Muslim and coexist in the same room for 30 years. The second is the concept of ethnicity. I'm a Hausa man, the other person is Igbo, the other one is Yoruba. Now, I want us to understand that neither you nor your parents, nor even your grandparents have any input as to the fact that, as to why you are a Hausa man, or you are a Yoruba man, or you are an Igbo person. You don't have any input about that. It was something that was destined and designed by God, and there is nothing you can do about it, and there is absolutely nothing any other person can do about it. But I want to inform you that it is not a negative that you are of a particular ethnic this thing. And the fact that we have so many ethnic Nigerians is not supposed to be a disadvantage. It is supposed to be an advantage to us. So we have to understand that. And at your level, you have to start understanding some of these intricate issues so that they can form part of your opinion in life. There is no gainsaying the fact that you have bad people among Muslims, you have bad people among Christians, you have bad people among Hausas, you have good people among Hausas, you have bad people among Yorubas and Igbos, you have good people among Yorubas and Igbos. So why must anybody, including your imam or your pastor, make you to hate the other person for the simple reason that he's not part of where you belong or where you think you belong? It is a wrong concept which all of you must put aside and treat people based on their humanity. Everyone is a human being, and every human being is created by God. We must go by that. The Western world, talking about development, everything we are saying here relates to the issue of our development or lack of our development. So the Western world are familiar, and they use some of these divisive tendencies so that they can be able to manipulate our thinking, of course, with some local collaborators. And that is why we are where we are. Finally, I don't want to take too much of our time because I'm not supposed to be a speaker here. I want you to take away one thing home. I urge you to understand this perspective of life in Nigeria in relation to the issue of our development challenges. I very much believe that Nigeria will ultimately develop to whatever level that we want it to get developed, but I want us to understand and appreciate the fact that as at today, and even by every standard, Nigeria is a great and prosperous country. Thank you.
I will put his hands together for our chairman one more time. So before the student group comes up to make their paper presentation, I would like to recognize some persons in our midst. Assistant Commandant of the Nigerian Civil Defense Corps, Mr. Hakim Karim, a member of the NDG group. Can we put our hands together for him? All right. Also, I'd like to recognize the Secretary of the NGG, Assistant Director of the National Assembly, Mr. Fashita Potai. Can we put our hands together for him? Also, earlier, Mr. Michael Ogbu from the Department of Mass Communication was with us. So can we put our hands together for him also? All right, I believe the student groups are ready, and I'd like to call on the first group and come put our hands together as we welcome Farida Uyo for group one presentation. And after that, we have another lead paper presentation. Yeah, Farida's group, that's group one. Can we put our hands together for them?
Good morning, everyone. I'd like to welcome you all to this very important and prestigious event. I'd also like to thank those that are present, including our important guests, and appreciate the main organizer, our head of department, Professor Ridwan. So the title of our presentation is Challenges and Development Options in Employability and Job Creation. Before we start, we want to emphasize the point that development cannot take place if it is not sustainable. And one of the ways that we can make sure that development is sustained is that we all have personal and collective responsibility. It's not just about who is in power to change things. It's also about the efforts we also put in to make sure that we have a better country, especially in this sector that we're talking about, employability and job creation. So this is basically what we're going to cover. We won't take much time. We are focusing on the Akada model of communication. Yes, because it is focused on the participation of the citizens in sustainable development. So we are all in this together. So the unemployment rate has increased from 11% in the year 2000 to an excess of 23% in 2011. Even if you don't look at these statistics, you will know that the unemployment rate is on a steady rise. And if you have a country where most of our population, okay, thank you. Nigeria is a country of very agile, young, and capable citizens. If you have such a high unemployment rate, that is very telling of the level of economic growth and development that we're going to have over time. Therefore, it is a very important sector. Nigeria faces serious challenges in job creation, and there are various developmental options that can be implemented. We need more practical and on-the-job training for students, and employers should also take note of entry-level graduates. They should be more willing to take a chance on that. So we will delve into that more, but this is just to give insight. So, okay, so research objectives. In the course of our research, we enumerated some goals that we wanted to achieve. We wanted to determine the main causes and hindrances to unemployment in Nigeria, to find possible solutions to these hindrances, and find methods to enhance the employability factor among Nigerian individuals. to create sustainable development in the sector of employability and job creation, to evaluate the challenges Nigerian individuals and organizations face, regardless of employment status, and to enumerate effective and efficient methods for job creation in Nigeria. So Miriam Abdullahi will handle definition of key terms.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Mariam Abdullahi, and I am part of this research paper. And I'm going to be taking the definition of key terms. So we used Akada model. It is a tried and trusted communication planning and implementation model designed by Akada, by UNICEF. The abbreviation stands for Assessment, Communication Analysis, Design, and Action. It is research-based, people-oriented, and participatory in nature. So communication in this context is the process of mobilizing people and communities and helping them to gain insights and confidence needed to tackle their problems. Communication for development is the use of communication processes, techniques, and media to help people towards consensus, to help people plan actions for change and sustainable development. So development in the word of Rugers is a widely participatory process of social change in a society. It is intended to bring about social change and material advancement. So job creation is a deliberate effort made by individuals, corporate bodies, and government in generating employment of different types for the unemployed citizens in the economy. Then vocational skills, another major key term, the practical skills that help an individual become proficient in a trade or profession. Then youth in Nigeria is a citizen between the ages of 18 to 29 years, according to the new Youth Policy 2019. So as Farida mentioned, we decided to use the Akada model of communication in order to address unemployment and job creation in Nigeria. That is because this Akada model is a four-stage process that involves assessment, communication analysis, design, and action. It is research-based, it is people-oriented, and participatory in nature. So the first stage of this Akada model of communication is assessment. We all know that the government have been putting efforts to create policies, schemes, programs, and strategies that are aimed at tackling unemployment in Nigeria, but the issue still remains a dilemma. So for that reason, we are going to be looking into the Akada model of communication to see ways that we can tackle unemployment in Nigeria. So the main reason the communication plans, policies, and programs failed was because of improper implementation. There were weaknesses in different areas of implementation, and also because of low level of awareness. So communication analysis is the next stage on the Akada model, and it is about identifying individuals involved in the communication process. So in respect to the paper, the title of our paper, Unemployment, we need to do a participative analysis, participants, to make sure that they're involved in the whole process. So these people are youths, university graduates, educational institutions, media organizations, NDEs, SMEs, different ministries, NGOs, industrial training fund, vocational training organizations. All this will contribute to the progress of the plan. So next is the media channel analysis. Find the most suitable media platform that will be adopted in mobilizing and persuading the individuals. It is important to determine the right media platform to use. The digital world has introduced so many different media platforms that we can use to communicate with people. So in order to use the Akada model, we have to determine which media platform is most suitable. And then the design stage is the next stage, using information from the previous stages to determine how we are going to formulate the messages and communicate the intended meaning for the specific targeted audience. And then the communication approach, it must be informative, it must be educative, it must be engaging, it must be empowering in order to foster compliance. So the next stage is also under this design stage, the communication approach has to be in line with the program goals. The program goal is to tackle unemployment in Nigeria. So the communication design has to be in line with those goals, objectives, and also it has to appeal to the targeted audience. And then the next stage we have is the action. Under this stage, all the planning done in the previous stages will be executed. This is the time to put in action. It entails programs on television and radio stations. There are different kinds of programs we watch nowadays. So these programs can be aimed at fostering employment and job creation in Nigeria. We can put in presenters, talented presenters that will talk about issues related to unemployment in Nigeria, address them in order to persuade the viewers to adopt to the plan. And then we have programs and advertisements and distribution of posters, flyers, and articles. The whole aim of this is to increase awareness. So we have to, advertisement is a very strong tool for doing this. So we can go ahead to get flyers and posters around that indicating the need for employment, the need to have skills, and the need to tackle unemployment in the country. Articles can also be written and published on various platforms. It could be on blogs, it could be on social media, it could be on magazines and newspapers. These articles should communicate the essence of employment in the country. Then the final stage is monitoring and evaluation. This is the very crucial aspect of development communication because it is aimed at tracking performance and assessing the impact of the communication plan. So this monitoring and evaluation stage is to track the success of the plans done in the previous stages. Monitoring and evaluation will help developers of the plan to ensure activities are carried out efficiently and figure out the extent to which the program objectives are executed and achieved. I'll hand over to Farida to continue. Thank you.
In light of the Akada model of communication, we always have to acknowledge the theories that are at play. So first, we'll look at the development theory of communication. This is basically using communication as a means to purport and further development strategies and policies. The main schools of thought in development communication are the process of development communication as a precondition for economic growth, development communication being used as a means of social change and modernization, development communication as a secondary determinant in the dealings of social change and not a main contributor. In this sense, communication is a vital and primary function of human beings. Rarely can we ever make any kind of progress without communication. The way that we learn, advance, and move forward as a civilization is through communication. So in this sense, we are speaking of using this vital function, this human function, to start and continue sustainable development. The next theory is democratic participant theory of communication. It is also a normative theory that describes a quote unquote grassroots kind of communication. Here, communication and media products are not limited to media professionals and clients. We can also extend it to local civilians. Generally, the public can participate in media products and the process of communication. They can decide what goes out there, what it is that they want to send out to the world. They also have control over the information that is being passed out. Features of this theory include the horizontal model of communication as opposed to the vertical model. So we all know the models of communication, and we know that in the vertical model, the sender sends out the information and feedback is delayed. Therefore, the sender tends to have more control over what message is being sent out. In terms of the horizontal model of communication, feedback is immediate. So there is more of a balance in terms of information flow. The media possesses a supportive and not critical function within the community. That is, everybody is participating in the content of the media. So the media is there to support the information that is being passed within the community. And self-regulation of the media or social responsibility of the media is definitely encouraged, and it is more applicable in new media. That is social media, the internet, blogs, and all of that. So Mariam Abdullahi will take the methodology. That is the methods that we used in the course of our research. Thank you.
So every research paper needs a particular methodology to gain data and information from the publics. So for our own research paper, we used online survey qualitative research method and virtual one-on-one interviews with graduates in Nigeria. So the data collection method, the aim of it was to find out the causes of unemployment in Nigeria, the challenges youth are facing, and the recommendations they have. So the questionnaire was shared online. We created a Google Docs questionnaire, which was shared, and we got 32 responses from individuals. And then the study population, the target population was 35 Nigerian citizens, that fall under the age category of 19 to 49 and are either employed, unemployed, or self-employed. And then the questionnaires, for the purpose of the research, a questionnaire with close-ended and open-ended question was created using the Google Forms. And then the interviews, we conducted few interviews to gain responses from people concerning unemployment and job creation in Nigeria. Moyo, sorry, we'll take the next slide.
Despite the fact that the National Bureau of Statistics data may not have shown the full picture of Nigeria's unemployed rate, it is clear that the country's unemployment rate has grown to a frightening proportion. What is more concerning is a higher rate. As you can see from this slide is the national unemployment rate from 1991 to 2021. And we carried out some surveys and we got a total of 35 responses from all the individuals. And this is a pie chart illustrating their responses. Okay, and the challenges of job creation in Nigeria. Firstly, we have the employability gap. Nigeria has a poor rate of employment creation. Therefore, there are much more people looking for work. There are questions, their positions are available, and Nigeria added 450,000. And we also have other challenges. And then Mariam Abdullahi will take the recommendations and proposals.
So the recommendations we came up with include creation of virtual and physical talent communities that joins together people with similar career interests in order to share knowledge and interest. So improving the educational system at all levels, from secondary, primary, and university, and then inclusion of entrepreneurship, education, and skills in school curriculums in order to train students on how to be self-employed when they graduate, and then adequate training of communicators in development communication to enable them strategize ways to develop employment and job creation. Press freedom and creation of an interactive platform for citizens to engage in development plans so that they will not just be beneficiaries, but they will have a say. They can contribute their opinions and their views. Then creation of vocational skills training in order to develop skills in a profession or a trade. And then tribalism, nepotism, and bias should be avoided in the process of job employment. They should be purely equal and free and fair. Thank you. On merit, based on merit. Appointments should be based on merit.
So to wrap up this presentation, creating jobs is a multifaceted topic that presents many difficulties for decision makers, companies, and individuals. These factors include economic growth, investment, skill development, entrepreneurship, and access to cash and resources. These play a role in job creation. That is to say that there are 3 levels that we can take this. The government has a hand to play in development in this sector. So do organizations and employers, and so do individuals. Now, to further reiterate that point, as an individual, you have a responsibility to yourself to be trained professionally and to make sure that you have the right kind of field experience and practical experience. In the case that if you can't get a job, then you can find a way to be self-employed. Because according to the survey that we sent out, there was a good number of people that started to take up businesses to sustain themselves. That is also an option because you are also contributing to the country's economic growth as opposed to expecting jobs to just fall into your hand. Despite these difficulties, there are tactics that can be used to encourage the creation of jobs. The government can also fund small and medium enterprises to encourage that culture of entrepreneurship among our individuals. Again, we're a very vibrant population of people, and it is not such an unattainable feat to say that you want to employ yourself and employ others, because you are also contributing to this sector on your own part. Yeah, you can.
Also, to emphasize on the Akada model of communication. This Akada model of communication is very effective and it has been used for different programs. So it is important that in order to tackle the issue of unemployment and job creation in Nigeria, it is important to use the Akada model approach to ensure participation among youths and the entire citizens of the country. Thank you very much for listening.
Come on, can we jam these hands together for group one more time? Come on, celebrate them, celebrate them. I remember when we were on campus, we didn't have the privilege to do all of this. And I feel majority of you are privileged at this point in time in your life. Also, quickly, I would like to recognize the presence of the marketing department of Nile University that we talked earlier, some of their members, and we have some people from Nile University Creative Art team who were with us just to support what we're doing. Can we celebrate them? Just celebrate them and for their presence.
Thank you very much. That's the first group, the research group of students. And you can see what they've done. We have 5 groups to present their research studies with the studies they have made using the Akada model. And we have actually, like what Prof said, we have started and we are growing. What he said the other time was that not only paper education, but an education you can apply for value. And that's what we are trying to do now. Using what we learn, communication skills we have, and we have gotten to solve societal problems. And that's what they have done with that solving problem of employability and job creation in Nigeria. So let us give them a round of applause once more. It's not sound. Give them, I mean, they've done research. It's not easy to come here. They've been day and night. Yes, thank you. We're still accepting more groups. Like we said, we have had the first lead presenter and also the first research group. So we have the second one, which was a Monday, and also the third one before we go for a break, because they are online, they are waiting. Professor Samala Mande from National Open University, that is now, and Professor Tajuddin Yusuf from University of Lagos is also presenting his own lead papers. So we're having 2 lead papers. So I think we should appreciate this fact and thank our professors and also our father, who has not only come here, he has actually supported us. But part of the lunch, you know, we have we'll be taking after Juma service, after break, we have a lunch, a good lunch. He has contributed to it. We are grateful to him. May God continue to reward him in good times. Father, we are very grateful, sir. Thank you very much, sir. So please want to present our gifts to him now.
All right. So very quickly, we will be presenting our gifts to our speaker and our chairman also. Do we have the Microsoft president in the house? Yakse. Where's the vice president or the vice president of the Mass Communication Student Association? Oh, she's here. All right. So in recognition of an excellent work done here today, we want to say thank you very much, Professor. Can we put our hands together as we celebrate Professor Taufik? Thank you very much, sir. Come on, celebrate him one more time. And also our chairman for today's event, Alhaji Aliyu Bagudu, can we celebrate him? All right. Thank you very much, us, for your time and for making our time to be here with us today. We really appreciate you.
I'm going to have the interlude, President Mande's paper. I mean, let us have him. But before that, let's have the interlude so that we can. So, like I said,
all right, like the HOD said earlier, we will have Professor Mande, but before that, maybe we'll have an interlude. Then we'll come back to Professor Mande. I believe he's preparing his slide for his paper presentation. But let's have an interlude, please. Control room.
Websites, applications, and like social media platforms that will create awareness about the problem. A lot of things that are consistent. Like, let's say writing for mass media and digital media, you see a lot of the basics like being really bad jogging writing in all caps, all those things are consistent.
How to do the introduction and how to close.
Sign in and sign out.
Yes. And sometimes we're assigned to like put the next program. For example, if you steps out, you can ask us to like put the next program if the one that's going on. Because you can't even miss second.
Yes. I can do editing, both video and photo editing. I can do those industrial skills. I've learned to be much more responsible and consistent, and to like practice more, and to also like be creative and think more.
We actually went through all the studios. I learned how to use a lot of the equipment in the print studio. I learned how to print stickers. I learned how to print posters. I learned how to design. In the Proud Studio, we learned how to use InDesign to create magazine layouts and stuff like that. We also learned how to use the camera in the photography studio. And we learned how to edit pictures using Capture One. And in the TV studio, I learned how to shoot video. In all, I just learned how to use a lot of media equipment, and now I have improved media skills.
And after the first 3 weeks, we swapped them. Karima came back to digital, and Halima moved to radio. So as for the digital experience, what we've been asking them to do here is to translate stories, and they are familiar with the stories that they are supposed to pick themselves and then put it in our content production system and translate them. Then after translating, we go through them. Through the translation, we sub and we give them feedback. They know what a good story means. They know how to promote stories on social media, and they know the kind of content the audience want to consume on social media platforms.
I have never seen a set of students or IT students that will come up. I just came in and they were greeting me.
The humility, honestly, in terms of their character, they are well trained. They are good. They don't have any problem. We also have our rules here, respect at work, which they always follow.
I accepted peace, because of her approach towards the whole process. And then I noticed that she was a fast learner. She started learning, right from graphic design. Over a short period of time, she learned graphic design, and then she moved over to videography, to photography, and video editing. So I was very impressed with her performance because she was able to catch some very technical things that we do here.
Welcome. We are really happy to have you here.
We are on campus here for resource verification. And what that means is that
Professor now, and also Omar Dean, a fellow of the council. All right.
All right. Welcome back, everyone. Our next speaker will be talking on galvanizing sustainable development of retention media system, the option for mining national development and consolidating growth. He is Professor Mande Samaila from National Open University. Can we celebrate him? Samaila Mande is a professor of marketing and communication of the Department of Business Administration, Faculty of Management Science of the National Open University in Nigeria. He's a scholar in leadership, procurement, and supply chain management. He attended Government Science Teachers College, Bukari, Sokoto in today's Zamfara State. He is a grade of marketing. He's a graduate of marketing, rather, with second-class upper division from Enugu State University, Enugu State Science and Technology. And Samaila holds a diploma in mass communication from the University of Jos and a professional graduate diploma in public relations from Business Education Examination Council, Lagos, an MSc degree in mass communication from Benue State University, Makurdi. He also holds a postgraduate diploma in distance education from marketing. The profile goes on and on. Can we celebrate Professor Mande as he presents his paper? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Good morning, or rather good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir. Good afternoon, sir. You're welcome, sir. You are on, sir.
All right.
You are on, sir.
Okay, I'm coming. Let me start by saying that it's a great opportunity and a great moment to have this kind of engagement with one of the great universities in the world. I said in the world because the operation of Nile University is something that is indeed global, and is something that one cannot in a way say much about. So it's very, very important we look at this thing clearly so that we all look at it in that direction. Sorry, please let me, sorry. Yes, sorry for that interruption because I was trying to get some information from an angle there. So I said it once again that the university is a great university. And as a great university, we all have to make sure that, yes, the right thing is done in the right direction. The organization, the faculty, the Department of Mass Communication of this great university, you are coming up with a new innovation. I'm coming up with a new innovation with something that is highly topical.
Try for yourself. Try for yourself.
And so because of that, we all have to look at this thing without missing word. What am I talking about, distinguished student? We're now in a very contemporary moment. And because we're in a very contemporary moment, the department on its own decided to come up with something that is novel, having a departmental engagement to interrogate sustainable development and national development. And because you are into mass communication department, hence my own topic in this direction. So I've been given this topic to talk about. And what am I to talk about here? Distinguished participants for this gathering all over, both the ones that are physical and the ones that are there as virtual audience. We need to look at it clearly that we're now going to be talking about galvanizing sustainable development oriented media system, the option for meaningful national development and consolidated growth. That was the task assigned to me by the university. Distinguished audience, I'm going to now start in this way to now say that the media is the mirror of society, and it can also be the catalyst for change. I'm not the one that said so, but rather it is a statement by Mahatma Gandhi. And because it is a statement by Mahatma Gandhi, we all have to look at it clearly. Mahatma Gandhi is a great individual, but participants just chill and just watch very well to now look at the way the presentation will go. My presentation outline is in this order. And so starting with the introduction, then the second one is the media and sustainable development, media and national development, and then the fourth one that we'll talk about consolidated growth through sustainable development oriented media system. And then towards the end, I'll now conclude. I said it again so that we all understand it clearly. And because that is my presentation outline, I also went further so that we can have the dimension in it in this area. Under the introduction, I'm going to talk about a brief overview of the topic, and then I'll talk about the importance of media in the national development. I'll talk about the purpose of why we're doing this presentation, and then the second angle where we're talking about media and sustainable development is where I'm going to have a definition of sustainable development, the role of media in promoting sustainable development, and I'll talk about the challenges facing sustainable development in Nigeria. And toward the end, I'll now talk about the media strategies, because we're not talking about the strategies for sustainable development in Nigeria. And then the third angle that I'm talking about there is about media and national development, where I'm now talking about definition of national development, the role of media in promoting national development, challenges facing national development in Nigeria, and of course, talking about the media strategies that we're now going to be using for national development, in particularly that we're now moving to another phase of our democratic practice. You get it very clearly because I have further broken down the outline, but because I have about 20 to 30 minutes presentation time, I'll just go straight to the business. And what is this business, distinguished audience? I need to let you understand that how can we use the power of the media to transform Nigeria for the better? The audience, various dimensions are there. My students are students of mass communication. How can we use the power of the media to transform Nigeria for the better? How can we do that? This is the question that I want us to discuss with you today. Like you've been informed already, my name is Professor Samaila Mande. I'm a Nigerian professor of marketing and communication with expertise in media, public relations, and the Nigerian politics. And that's the more reason why we'll be having this kind of engagement together. My great students, I need to let you understand that the way things are, so that we all look at it clearly. Nigeria is a developing country facing various challenges, including poverty, inequality, corruption, and insecurity. According to the World Bank information, 2023, Nigeria has the largest number of people living in extreme poverty in the world, with about 87 million people living on less than 1.9 a day. Let's look at it clearly to let you understand the nature and the kind of situation we have in our country, Nigeria. I move on to say again, with these challenges that we now talked about, how are we going to address this? To address these challenges, my great participant and audience for this gathering, we need to work towards what? Sustainable development. And that is why we're now looking at the dimension now. Sustainable development to do what? Sustainable development that meets the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. And so because you are media students, media scholars, media practitioners, so what is the role of the media in that direction now? The media has a crucial role to play in promoting sustainable development and national development. What is it that the media can do in this direction? What the media can do is that media can inform, media can educate, and media can engage the public on issues related to sustainable development and national development, such as what? Environmental protection, social justice, economic growth, and good governance. So the media can also hold the government and other stakeholders accountable. And because of this, it's not all media systems that are conducive for sustainable development, because you need to understand, it's not all media systems that are conducive for sustainable development and national development. Some media systems focus on entertainment, sensationalism, propaganda, or commercial interests. But the media we're talking about, this media system can distract, misinform, manipulate the public, and undermine the goals of sustainable and national development. So you need to understand and now know where we are. So what do we need to do? My great participant and audience on this engagement. So we now say that we need to do what? We need to galvanize a sustainable development-oriented media system as an option for meaningful national development and a consolidated growth in Nigeria. A sustainable development-oriented media system is what can do what? Is the one that aligns with our own values. I'm so happy with Professor Hafiz that talks about things that have to do with our values. Is the one that aligns with our values, our principles and practices, with the vision and mission of sustainable development and national development. So that's the one that we can now do. So that we need to understand that's what we're now to do, and hence this galvanization we're now talking about. All right? In my presentation, distinguished audience, I will discuss the challenges facing sustainable development and national development in Nigeria, and the role of media in promoting these goals, and the strategies that media practitioners can adopt to galvanize a sustainable development-oriented media system. I'm so happy with the demonstration by those students on the Akada model in communication. I will also share some examples of studies of successful media initiatives that have contributed to sustainable development and national development in Nigeria and other countries as time permits in our own engagement. So what do you mean by sustainable development? All right? So you need to understand, even Ban Ki-moon, he talked about the media has power to inform, educate, inspire, and mobilize people for sustainable development and national development. That's Ban Ki-moon for you, our former Secretary General in the United Nations. And so what do we mean by this sustainable development? What is it all about? Sustainable development is a concept. You've got to look at it critically. It's a concept that has gained significant attention in recent years. We talk about sustainable development and all that. And what is it all about? It refers to development that promotes prosperity, and economic opportunity, greater social well-being, and protection of environment. In other words, sustainable development meets the needs of the present without injuring or compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. So in other words, whatever we are doing about sustainable development, we have to do it in such a way that it does not compromise about the future. So there are various challenges facing sustainable development. And what are those challenges? These challenges are poverty, environmental degradation, climate change, and inadequate structure. And incidentally, some of these are there according to the Sustainable Development Goals that are up to 17. All right? And so, like I told you, these are things that are very, very important, which we have to all take note of. All right? And so, once again, like I say, we'll continue to look at this thing as we move on. And that's why we'll talk about the challenges in the role the media plays in the sustainable development, and then the way it can now be handled in that aspect. So what is it that the media can do with media and national development here? What is it that the media can do in national development? The media can also influence public opinion, policy making, and behavior change on issues related to sustainable development. That's what the media can do. The media can also shape public opinion by providing accurate and balanced information on sustainable development issues and challenges. Media can influence policy making by holding, national development is another critical concept, by holding those in accountability. But we have to look at it clearly. The national development is another critical concept for Nigeria. And what is it that is all about? It refers to the process of improving the quality of life of nation, especially in terms of income growth, education, health, and democratic governance. In other words, national development is the total effect of all citizen forces in addition to stock of all physical human resources, knowledge, and skills. In Nigeria, there are various challenges facing national development, including poverty, inequality, corruption, and insecurity. And so the media can also play a crucial role in promoting national development by raising awareness about these challenges that I mentioned and advocating solutions for them. The media practitioner can use various strategies, such as what? Investigative journalism, the public service, announcements, documentaries, and social media campaigns to highlight the importance of national development and its potential benefits for Nigeria. All these are things that are very, very important that the media can play its own role in that aspect. The media can equally do what? The media can shape public opinion by providing accurate and balanced information on national development issues and challenges. The media can influence policy making by holding the government and other stakeholders accountable for their actions and commitment to national development, and media can encourage behavior change. And Tango will do what we call behavioral change communication, BCC, by showcasing positive examples and role models of national development initiatives and achievements. A great audience and all that. Here, I'm now moving to the part 4 of this presentation, where we'll be talking about consolidated growth through sustainable development of the media system. To achieve consolidated growth, Nigeria needs to do what? Nigeria needs to integrate sustainable development into its media system. And how are we going to do that? That means that our practitioners need to align our own values, principles, and practices with the vision, mission of sustainable development that I earlier talked about. All right? And so media practitioners need to adopt a holistic and balanced approach to reporting and producing content that covers economic and social and environmental dimension of development. And so to do this thing, the media practitioner can use various strategies to promote sustainable and national development in Nigeria, such as creating and disseminating powerful content, collaborating and partnering with stakeholders, and innovating and adapting to changing context. These are things that we all have to try as much as we can to take note as we are moving on. Now, there are many examples of sustainable media initiatives that have contributed to sustainable development and national development in Nigeria. in our country, and which is what we now talked about in various areas. Such activities as the way it's been reported. Now, as a way of looking at this thing clearly so that we all look at it, and they do that by integrating sustainable development into media system. By media project can also contribute with some of the things that I talked about. And so when they do that, Nigeria can indeed achieve prosperity, social well-being, environmental protection, good governance, peace, security, human rights, democracy for all its citizens now and in the future. Distinguished audience, participants that are there, let me now have a way to conclude this engagement, this interaction with development and consolidated growth in Nigeria. As the country transitions to a new administration under Bola Ahmed Tinubu, the media can support his promises of economic recovery, social justice, and national unity by informing, educating, and engaging the public on the issues and opportunities that affect their lives and well-being. So I want to say that the media can also hold the government accountable and foster government participation, like we said earlier. And when they do this, the whole thing will be there. And to do this effectively, the practitioners and the policy maker need to align their policy, like I said earlier, and then the principles and goals need to also be something that we all work towards achieving. So I want to thank you for your attention and the way and manner I needed to wrap up this engagement. Thank you for your attention. Over to you over there.
Of God. And now we want to have the next paper now is from the University of Lagos. Mr. Otto, can we have?
Yeah, Prof, did you hear me?
We can hear you, sir.
Okay,
we are going to have a discussion. Within 4.
Did you hear me through? Did you hear me through from the beginning to the end?
Of course, so loud and clear, very clear, and we recorded it, sir. We are most grateful, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. All
We
right.
heard you. Thank you very much, sir. A round of applause for Prof. And the next stage is going to be a paper on economy. One thing that has actually,
hello, my sister.
One thing that is killing the economy of Nigeria is interest.
You were calling me when I was.
Control room. We have a noise there. Please, can you mute them? The next speaker is going to speak on economy. Sustainable development as regards to economy and interest and what is way out. He is a professor of agricultural science, insurance and finance at the University of Lagos. We are just privileged to have him, Professor Tajuddin Yusuf. Can you please put up his pictures? Control room. Professor Yusuf is presenting now on economy. The interest and economy, the ways out in our sustainable development drive in Nigeria. Can we have it? Prof, you are most welcome. You are most welcome, sir.
Yeah, I'm trying to share my screen.
Okay, sir. You're most welcome. Lagos.
Yeah.
Okay, sir. You are welcome, sir.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen.
Good afternoon. You are most welcome. Good afternoon.
My presentation is on charting the new corridor of interest-free economy towards a greater Nigeria, the burden of interest-based economy on Nigeria.
Can we have the pictures? This is the last paper for the first session. After we will go for a break. After Juba prayer, we'll come back to the LT, the mass classroom. We'll have our lunch.
Well, the content of my paper starts with an introduction of what is at play. Can those in the control room, can they help me share the screen?
they are making efforts, sir. Continue, sir. They will
Okay.
share.
Yeah, I'll be looking at the state of the Nigerian economy. Then I'm going to analyze why we are here. Then I will look at the burden of interest, riba, as a very dangerous virus. Then we look at the nascent global Islamic finance industry. Then we look at the position of Islamic finance or Islam on interest and speculation. And then we'll start the way forward. The aptness of the timing of this presentation cannot be underestimated. We have seen where we are. At least everybody can feel the impact of the economic situation under which we are sojourning in terms of the value of the money we have and what value can this money bring back to us. Then we look at the paradoxes of the Nigerian economy. Despite the fact that this country is abundantly blessed by the Almighty, we are still struggling. The poverty level is quite appalling and indescribable. Only he who feels the pain can say. Then we look at the persistence of profiling same solutions but expecting different results and outcomes. We tend to say that this country is blessed. Everybody will have a solution to the problem. But you find out that most of the problems don't address the real cause of the problem, which is interest. We don't address it. We think we can get anything meaningful out of the abundance we have without addressing the issue of interest. At the individual level, on the effect of interest on the individuals, on corporate entities, and on the nation at large. So, and this is a country of uncountable possibilities. And I want to also say, for a start, that this presentation is based on the assumption that Nigeria will operate a double paradigm economic system, conventional as well and Islamic, for the next 8 years. Now, let's look at the state of the Nigerian economy. Averaging $111 per barrel in 2011 and 2012, oil prices have started nosediving by middle of 2014, thus upturning Nigeria's revenue and spending plans. By early 2016, oil had receded to $28 per barrel, although prices later recovered. Consequently, the economy fell into recession in 2016, the first time in 25 years, after successive quarters of negative growth. The economy recovered as oil prices rebounded, ending 2017 at $60 per barrel on the average. The second recession in 2020 was caused by the outbreak of the COVID-19 pandemic, pandemic-induced global recession, impacting on the country's fragile economy. In the second quarter of 2020, Nigeria's GDP contracted by -6.1% and -3.6% in Q3 to wipe out 3 years of tentative recovery. But the resurgent oil prices from 2017 could not mask federal government's shallow economics, headlined by a confused foreign exchange system, uncoordinated populist schemes, faltering sectoral programs, and a command economy that inhibits private investment. While the Naira exchange officially at 197.8 Naira to a dollar in June 2015, it was 460 Naira, 460.97 Naira to a dollar by April of 2020. At the parallel market, where most buy, it is 747 Naira. Inflation spiked in 2015. Annualized inflation was in single digits at 9.0%. In December, the inflation rate hit 21.47%, a 17-year peak. In March, it climbed to 22.04% and is likely to rise higher as the government moves removing the petrol subsidy. Nigerians have never had it so bad. The country overtook India in 2018 as the global capital of extreme poverty, with 87 million of its population adjudged to be extremely poor. Some 91.6 million Nigerians currently live in extreme poverty, second behind India by the World Poverty Clock. The National Bureau of Statistics in 2022 assessed 103 million citizens as living in multidimensional poverty. The Debt Management Office put Nigeria's debt at 12.12 trillion naira in June 2015, a debt to GDP ratio of 13.1%. It had climbed to 44.7 trillion naira by December 2022. Waste and means borrowing, mostly printing money, was 22.8 trillion naira. Accordingly, debt to GDP ratio has risen to 34.7%. With the binge borrowing, servicing obligations wipe out revenue. 96% of revenue went for debt servicing in 2022, said the World Bank. While the federal government borrows heavily and pays highly to service debt, it has just increased public workers' salaries by 40%. The increment is not tied to any new source of revenue. The Nigerian Bureau of Statistics estimates unemployment rate at 33.3% and youth unemployment at 42.5%. Insecurity is taking a huge toll on investment. Currently, international airlines cannot repatriate over $800 million because of the dollar shortage that has also restricted the importation of raw materials, machineries, and parts. Now, I can't just go on to reeling out the precarious situation in which we are economically, but let me just do an analysis of why we are here. In my own opinion, we are here because we run an economy that is based on the colonial legacy after the Western capitalist model. We structure everything we do following the Western model, whereby we tend to justify many of the things we do based on their own philosophy, not having an homegrown economic model. Then we also have a debt-based economy to fund current and capital expenditures. Like I mentioned, 96% of our revenue was used to do what? To service debt. Meaning that only 4% of our revenue is used for capital expenditure. So we have dwindling internal revenue as a result of official corruption and insecurity fueled by non-accountable government. Then we also have over-reliance on foreign products. An average Nigerian loves to have something imported. We glorify ourselves, we praise ourselves, we show off with foreign products. The clothes we are wearing, we always want it to be foreign made. The shoes we wear, the wristwatch we put on, everything, the car we drive, we like to be shown that this is Tokumbo, you know? That in itself is killing the economy because we are wasting our foreign exchange, and there's no way our currency can compete with the foreign exchange, the foreign currency. Then we have untapped potentials in agriculture. This is so serious that our raw materials, our raw resources that God has given us, we have not made adequate and maximal use of them, to the extent that we love to export them in their raw form, and then we are always happy to get them imported, processed in foreign countries. What's an irony? So, because of this present situation, we find out that the burden of interest, riba, is very, very germane. Why? Because interest is a charge to cost. Anybody who borrows money from the bank will have to charge the payment of that debt into whatever goods or services is rendering before he will not think of earmarking certain percentage for profit. So for every product you buy, most of the time you are paying for the interest. And that is why the cost of goods and services are always on the high side, coupled with inflationary trend. Secondly, the enslavement cycle of the borrower. Once you go a borrowing, you go a sorrowing, because you have psychologically given the control of your life to your lender. The lender can always come to decide how you live your life. He can always come to give you, to dictate how you organize your life. Just like the Western countries through IMF, through the World Bank, will come and dictate to the Nigerian government what to spend on, what not to spend on. Then you have reduced quality of goods and services. The reduced quality of goods and services because of interest. Because to service debt, many organizations will have to cut corners. They have to cut corners because of the debilitating effect of interest on their operations. So goods and services are not coming out in very good quality because of the effects of interest. And what has that resulted to? That has resulted to companies easily going down due to incessant debt repayment defaults. When you don't pay your debt as at when due, your lender will come and close down your organization or sell off your collateral property so that and you will not be able to pay your salaries, your workers. So many of them will have to go and look for a job elsewhere. And when you cannot pay salaries due to poor liquidity, then the companies will go down. You can imagine how many companies have gone down since the turn of the century in Nigeria. We used to hear about their names. The textiles industry has gone comatose. Raw material, beverages, food and raw beverages, only those you have now are those who are doing eateries. You don't have all those gigantic organizations, companies that were used by governments of the Fourth Republic to grow the economy. So now they introduced to us structural adjustments programs dictated by the lenders. They tell us, sell off Nitel, sell off Nigeria Airways, sell off your national companies, sell them off because you cannot manage. If the government cannot manage our legacy companies, who is going to manage it? So we sell them off. Sometimes government officials will sell these companies to themselves or to their cronies, and at a very paltry sum. And I don't want to read you with examples of this. You are all well aware of this. Then you have shrinking public services. I once was discussing with a friend of mine who is a director in one of the ministries here in Lagos. I asked him, can you tell me a single service that government is giving to you? He was blabbing. He couldn't say. And this for any Nigeria. The oil that God has given us on a platter of gold, we suffer to get it. We pay more than the official prices. If you want security, you have to pay for it. If you want undisturbed water system, you have to dig your own borehole. If you want to have uninterrupted school calendar, your children must go to private institutions. There's nothing you can say you are getting from the government that say, yes, I get this because I'm in Nigeria. It's quite serious. And there's this vicious poverty circle that is ravaging the whole economy. So, to put a stop to these economic doldrums, there is need for the government or the incoming government to explore the opportunities in Islamic finance, which is a non-interest model. A non-interest model. I don't want to bore you with what the Holy Book says about interest, but one thing is very certain from the Islamic point of view, that whoever engages in interest, either as a giver or as a taker or as a bearer of witness to it, they are caused by God. They are caused by God. And in Quran chapter 2, verse 272, Allah says in the Quran that Ya ayyuhal ladina amanu taqullah wa daru ma baqiya min ar-riba in kuntum mu'minin wa in lam taf'alu fa'dhanu biharbin min Allah wa rasulih wa in tubtum falakum ru'usu amwalikum la tablimuna wa la tudlamun. Allah says, oh, you will believe, fear Allah, and leave aside what is furious, what is interest. Leave it if you are true believers. And if you will not desist, then take leave of war from God and His messenger. And if you repent, just take your capital. Don't oppress and don't be oppressed. The global Islamic finance industry is a very veritable option for the Nigerian government to grow this economy. In 2022, just last year, the global Islamic finance market size was valued at $2,503,600 US, and is expected to expand at a CAGR of 12.67% during the forecast period, reaching $5,122,800 US by 2028. According to Fitch Ratings, the Nigerian Islamic finance industry will continue its growth trajectory in 2023-2024 on the back of government sukuk issuance and a policy push, but is still likely to remain nascent in the medium time. While Nigeria remains the largest sukuk market in Africa, with an outstanding issuance of 755.5 billion naira, which is 1.6 billion US, I bet small by global comparison. It's still small. In the background of the futuristic growth and prospect of the Islamic finance industry in Nigeria, we shall be having a very buoyant experience if some of the non-interest instruments are utilized to grow our economy both at the micro and at the macro levels. Now, as a recommendation to the incoming government, charting a new corridor of interest-free economy towards a greater Nigeria, the first thing must be an executive order by the incoming president on non-interest finance paradigm shift, that we're going to grow this economy not solely on Western capitalist model, but we will allow both the conventional as well as the non-interest model to coexist. We have countries in the world that are practicing this. We have countries in the world that are practicing this. Turkey is an example. Then the Central Bank of Nigeria must rigid non-interest department. Currently, the CBN has a non-interest department, but we are suggesting that we are recommending that this non-interest department must be rigid to make it more responsive and more active and more contributive to the Nigerian economy. DITO should be the Federal Ministry of Finance and Budget Planning. And it must, while about to do this, it must carry along some of its parastatals and agencies, such as NEXIM, NDIC, NICOM, NISA, and the FIRS. Then there must be ameliorating policies, drastically reducing the cost of governance. Now, when we talk about the high cost of governance in this country, I am referring to our bicameral legislature and our bogus civil service. Look at it. For this country, we need to decide whether we want to have only the senators or the House of Reps. We cannot be running the two together because there's practically no need for us to have a bicameral legislature by virtue of the size of our economy, because the amount being expended on the legislature far outweigh the contribution of the legislature to the Nigerian economy or the Nigerian growth and development. We can do with one legislative house. Either we decide to be either the senators or the House of Reps. We cannot run the two. We cannot run the two. And look at the problem that has caused us. Since 1999, constitutional amendment has never worked because of the bottlenecks of legislation. You have to first of all go to the Senate, spend several months in the Senate before you now have the House of Reps. Before you now go to all the states. This is killing. Then we have a bogus civil service. And what our civil service itself is another area that we must look at, because our civil service today needs to be reorientated. Everybody is just there for its own, not for the national interest. And that is why almost half of the budget that are voted for, half is used to service corruption. And you cannot take away the civil service from this. Those of you in Abuja there can understand what we are saying. Then there is need for the launch of the Zakat system on a national scale to boost public service. The Zakat system is such that the new government, the incoming administration must explore, because there are many Nigerians who ought to be paying zakat that are not paying zakat. And government must also have what it takes to also task the religious institutions. This idea of we are NGO, any organization, any institution that will not pay tax must justify what it is using its money for. So if we explore the zakat system in Islam, this can go a long way, because anybody who does not pay as a Muslim will definitely know that he's no longer a Muslim. If you deny the payment of zakat, you are no longer a Muslim. It's like somebody who is not praying. You cannot be qualified to pay zakat and you don't pay zakat. Imagine if all Muslims in Nigeria were to pay zakat. Because zakat is also deductible in your properties that you have left out for rent. You must pay zakat on them. Then we can also leverage on our endowment I will talk later on that. Then look at the Sukuk. The Sukuk instrument, we've had a good and very palatable experience of Sukuk.
Exactly.
To grow our infrastructure in terms of road networks and bridges.
Prof, sir, please, can you,
Government, yes.
we're going to have the paper later because we did not see the slides. And
But I've sent
time
it to
actually is
your
up for 5 minutes. Let us run over the first 5 minutes. Thank you.
but I've sent it to your WhatsApp.
I didn't see it, sir. It is only the CV and the CVs. So we have it later. So because I have to for so that's 1:30 here. So we want to round up. I mean, just in 10 minutes time. Thank you.
So the Sukuk must be relaunched across states so that you can bring more Nigerians to be involved in the growth and development of their states. And the Sukuk is non-interest. And this, we can see what this has done to all the 6 geographical zones in the country. Then, all interest-based investment instruments must cease to be used and must be replaced by permissible investment instruments, such as Mudoraba, which is profit sharing, all Sharia nominate partnerships, diminishing Musharaka, sharecropping partnerships, agricultural planting or irrigation partnership, or financing by way of deferred sales or irrigation partnership, or financing Murabaha, Salam, Istisna, operating Ijara, Ijara Munteya Bitemlik, or other permissible financing and investment instruments. All possible efforts must be exerted to terminate all interest-based loans that the country has made before now, whether such loans are medium-term or long-term facilities. Formation of a Sharia Supervisory Board and an internal Sharia Compliance Department in accordance with the governance standards of the IOFI. Reformatting or designing standard contracts or specimen or exemplars of documents that comply with Sharia rules and principles. Then opening of accounts with local or international Islamic banks like the IDB and revamping of the accounts that are maintained with local or corresponding conventional banks. Any dealings with conventional banks must be limited to the magnitude of the need to do so. We have to also prepare a special program for preparing personnel and training them to deal with the application of Islamic banking practices. Taking necessary measures for the implementation of accounting, auditing, governance, and ethics, standard issued by IOFI, and revamping the transactions with conventional banks on the basis of riba-free transactions and the application of instruments acceptable by Sharia. They will also need to consolidate the membership of the OIC and the IDB in a beneficial manner to the country and its citizens. Then, to grow our agricultural sector, a country, we need to adopt practice like Musakot, which is an irrigation partnership, a contract between the owner of an orchard or its usufructs and a worker, irrigator, agreeing to share the produce according to specific ratios stipulated at the time of the contract. Then we need to do irrigation partnership. It's a permissible contract that becomes binding on commencement of the work, or if mutually agreed, between the two parties not to terminate the contract before its expiry. This is a veritable weapon for enhancement of our food sufficiency. Waqf or endowment. In Sharia terminology, Waqf refers to making a property invulnerable to any disposition that leads to transfer of a property invulnerable to any disposition that leads to transfer of ownership, and donating the usufruct of that property to beneficial ownership, and donating the usufruct of that property to beneficiaries. This instrument is usable to distribute wealth and curb wastages in various unoccupied properties, about 17 million deficit of housing deficit in the country. With Waqf, you can say bye-bye to this. In conclusion, I want to say that interest-based system is widening the socio-economic gap and has acted as plug against the attainment of national glory. While not canvassing a wholesale adoption of non-interest system, a phased gradual approach should be considered, such as done in some countries, like in Turkey. The spiritual dimension of economic stagnation should also not be ignored. By engaging in interest, you are incurring the wrath of the Almighty. So we need to understand that. Then, ideological patriotism of leadership and followership should be intensified. Many Nigerians today are on patriotic elements. We don't love our country. We don't care whether the country goes a place. We need to be careful of this. And we all need to see ourselves as part of the solution and not part of the problem. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Round of applause for our professor from University of Lagos. Thank you very much. We are grateful, sir, for your inspiring lecture. We should have it so that we can publish it. Like we said, we are going to have published the proceedings of this conference. So please, we could not have it maybe due to technical issues, and we would like to have it immediately so that we are even open to open a website for it on the department so that we can have it. So thank you very much. We are glad.
And all of this means that tech is really accelerating how people are staking their claims when it comes to intellectual properties. Now, in this stage, what role are tech talents playing as tech is accelerating the creation of intellectual properties in this age? So tech talents, amidst general talents, exploration and refinement is replacing resource-based economies. And when we say resource-based economies, we mean especially those powered by main natural resources like oil and so on and so forth. So, and tech talents include professionals across UI UX, software and cloud engineering, quality assurance, cybersecurity, etc. Well, this is the point that matters here. All of these, while they are tech domain experts, they don't actually even operate in isolation. And why I'm saying this is, irrespective of what you do, tech has an interface to digitize and crunch the data from what you do. While these are the core tech professionals that would do the actual crunching of data once it's in digital domain, it's also very germane and important that you become savvy enough to understand how this cycle of professionals interface with you in what you do. It will help you to be able to properly abstract your problems in ways that they can be able to help you to reap the leverage of tech. No doubt about the fact that there's a big leverage, there's a big efficiency that comes from adopting tech in whatever you are doing. As I have overheard from several papers that have been presented today, when it comes to the point of actioning all what you are trying to do, you can see that tech indeed plays a big role in how you're able to do this, leveraging the best efficiencies that can ever be available for you in this stage. Now, the point now is, how well are we doing in Africa when it comes to this tech talent as a resource? Because in a tech age, tech talent has become the more important resource. We've known Africa is be tagged as a continent that is replete with so much physical resources. So how are we doing when it comes to our tech talents? And that's why this slide is about the fact that we are trying to discuss the African world-class tech talent pipeline problems. I think I jumped a slide, which world-class, who are world-class tech talents? I jumped a slide and I shouldn't have done that because in this global age, competition is global. I beg the pardon of anyone to know that if you want to adjudge how well you are doing anything you are doing today, I will beg your pardon to please adjudge yourself on the global level. If you are still thinking competition is localized, then I mean, you are really missing out on the reality. So when we talk about tech talents, let's first define what constitutes a world-class tech talent, because if you are not world-class in this global age, the tech is making the world to become a global village more and more, right? So if you are not world-class in anything, it's a problem. So just to talk a bit about using a model to describe this, you know, a very sound skilled professional today is a global citizen. And that's why you see developed clients that wants to maintain their status, their developed status, you see them trying to attract talent to make sure that they retain that status. Now, enter the UK model example. There is this UK Tech Nation Global Talent Visa that helps us depict what constitutes a world-class tech talent. And Why I'm not going to be quoting them verbatim, the essence of what the model tries to ascertain before you can be granted this visa, that this naturalization in a place like UK, irrespective of where you are coming from, the basis they use to evaluate if you are fit to be admitted on that basis of you being a world-class global talent is what I'm going to be highlighting you. And that's what world-class tech talents are thoroughbred, well-experienced, and renowned tech experts that have made impacts of great local and global significance. There are some points there that are very important. Being thoroughbred would be like you've been trained by the very best of the best. Being well experienced means you've been given the opportunity to own your skills under the rigor of challenges. Renowned means you've gone beyond working on these challenges to making great impact that tests. And all of these are going to be important as we continue to dissect where Africa is when it comes to world-class tech talents and the various obstacles that are preventing us from taking this checklist completely so that we can really be there to be reckoned with when it comes to this. And again, let me point something important here. If you don't have world-class tech talents, even if you are not one of them, but you don't have them in a ratio that's necessary in the society, it's really going to dwindle how you are able to advance as a society. So I believe that from a policy to a direct kind of view, this concerns everybody. So talking about African world-class tech talent pipeline problems. So we have a number of problems that are not helping us to really get many talents to get this world-class when it comes to tech talents. It is the lottery bottleneck. This problem actually goes beyond tech. It cuts across how well we are a knowledge-based economy generally as a continent, as a country. And what this means are people believe that the end results are just what's important and the process is not important, and you can just get those end results overnight without you seeing any dignity, any honor in following a process that is, tough in the beginning and then easy for you due to you having mastered it. So the lottery mentality is like people just being like, you can be lucky without having a basis of luck. And I beg to say that this boils down to our value system that is eroding at a very alarming rate. Very deplorable rate, and it's sometimes it's things that makes us human. So I encourage everyone here, thinking about this and trying to canvas about the fact that don't have this mentality of I just want to get to destination. I care about the process. That process is what makes us human, and it's dignifying if at least you've done that. In anything you are doing, you've put in best that you have done. So the kind of tech and almost any other thing of virtue is going to be tough in the beginning. So when you see your countrymen being those that are easily dissuaded when things are tough, then they can't get to the end, to the end stages where it gets to become world-class tech talents. And another bottleneck, definitely the curriculum relevance bottleneck. So this curriculum relevance bottleneck is one that, in a way, let me first talk about it from the traditional institutions' point of view. I really acknowledge what NIDU has been doing in trying to balance academia and industry. But Entertech, especially information technology, the rate at which things are advancing in this space is at it's at a neck-breaking speed. And in a way, traditional institutions might in fact be unwilling, even if they are able to keep up with that pace, because they'll be like, we need to have a framework that is consistent, that's solid, before we can say we want to, make it a degree curriculum and so on. So the point is, from inability to unwillingness to keep up with neck-breaking speed, oftentimes when many people go through many traditional institutions in tech-related disciplines, they end up coming out without being able to be at par with what the industry demands. Then we have the infrastructure bottleneck. The infrastructure bottleneck stems from the fact that you need some basic infrastructure to explore, to practice, to hack various principles that you are studying. And from you being able to commute easily to where you collaborate with people, to you being able to have reliable telecom infrastructure to get access to the World Wide Web, and by extension of that, people across the globe. So you being able to have even reliable power infrastructure to show that you can power your gadgets at will and run whatever things you need to run. All of this infrastructure bottlenecks means that, except for the most strong people among us, they will not be able to really withstand all these bottlenecks in order to get to the end phase of being a world-class excellence. Then we have the very important one for those that they are in the right place at the right time with the right mindset. That is, students here, for example, a typical faculty here has access to some world-class resources, right? So, and imagine there is this exposure that makes them even have access to the right curriculum, coupled with they having the right mindset. Even at that, there's still a very important bottleneck, and that is the experience opportunity bottleneck. So, this is talking about the fact that what opportunities exist to drill people, to transform people, to challenge people, so that when they overcome these challenges by virtue of having this experience opportunity, they are really going to end phase. And this is very crucial, completely non-negotiable. You can say if you are, very adamant, if you are very persistent, and so on, you can find your way across curriculum and infrastructure. When it comes to the experience opportunity, for example, if you've not been able to build a product that scales to 1 million users, you can't claim to be a distributed systems engineer of record. If you've not communicated to an audience that's very big, you can't claim you are sure you can overcome your phobia when you face such an audience. So beyond you just, hypothesizing what your capabilities are, experience tells you where you really are, and it adjusts you according to the objectives of the particular situation you find yourself, and be able to know in real time if you are really getting it done or not. So, and when I talk about this experience opportunity bottleneck, where it becomes more important in tech is the fact that tech initiatives, or when tech is being used as leverage for a particular initiative, it's often crucial. It's crucial because these are real-world things being done by real-world people, and many organizations that can afford to pay and engage talents for them to have the experience, they often default to using only experienced hands. This is like a doom, a cycle of doom. A cycle of doom in the sense that I can't get a job because I don't have experience, and I don't have experience because I don't have the job. So what I'm saying here is that many opportunities that exist in the tech space, they often require people that have been tested and trusted because they are crucial initiatives. And organizations would hesitate to often give opportunities to it. So even after some people have really tried and they've been well trained, they've been well exposed, it still becomes an issue that how are they able to be properly engaged in record time, and by that they're able to really get to the next level. And here I mentioned the Andela Pilots because Andela is a world-class tech talent accelerator that has at its disbursement the various capital needed for infrastructure, the world-class people that can, really give guys that want the kind of training they want. But despite that, what problem did Andela face? Andela faced the same problem about the experience doom cycle. So they train guys, and then when they try to pitch these guys to corporations, the corporations will be like, no, we want people that have 5 years experience, and they just train those guys for 1 year. So it becomes a problem. And as we speak today, and Andela, for example, despite the enormity of the resources at disposal, has pivoted away from doing the talent acceleration to just doing the talent matching. Now Andela will say, okay, if you are good, that's fine. I can pair you up with those that need you. But if you are not good, it's your continence problem.